Hello everyone. Thanks for joining us today for the 2018 Clean Energy Activity Day webinar. Today we'll be going over in detail the RFP that's currently out on the street so you can learn more about the solicitation and answer questions you might have. Before we start, could everyone just please confirm that the audio is working? Can you let us know through the chat box really quick to make sure that you can hear us? Can everybody hear me? Okay, I don't see any responses. Can someone just write in if you can hear me or not, so we can make sure that audio is working? Great, thanks everybody, I appreciate that. So great, without further ado, we'll dive in. I am Andrew Chabot, the Senior Program Manager for Workforce Development here at MassCC, and I'm joined by Tamika Jacques, the Director of Workforce Development at MassCC. Also joining us later in the webinar will be Michael Murphy, Director of Water Innovation here at MassCC, who will be giving some feedback on a potential avenue to take for the upcoming solicitation. But today, again, we wanted to give you an overview of this solicitation on the street and answer questions and let you know about some logistics of the RFP. If you have any questions, please do type it into the questions box. We'll be holding all questions until the end, and we'll go through them in the order they're received. So please, any questions that come to mind, please type those in during the webinar, and we'll be able to answer it at the end. Also keeping in mind that we might answer your question during the webinar, so just please be aware of that. So to give a little bit more of an overview of MassCC, we've been around since 2009. We were created by the 2008 Green Jobs Act, and our goal is to promote clean energy jobs in the state of Massachusetts. We do that through a variety of different means, geared towards adopting, renewable energy systems through, residents, businesses, communities, connecting everybody, serving as a nexus for the industry so that people can find one another, and to help spur innovation by providing some grants to upcoming new prototypes and technology. And crucially, what we do in Workforce is we work to help train the next generation of clean energy workers through a variety of different means, such as our internship program, our high school learn and earn program, and now increasingly with the Clean Energy Activity Day, which is focused on students K through 8. This is the second year we'll be running Clean Energy Activity Day. We had a very successful first year, so we're very excited to see kind of what the next year will bring and see what kind of new projects are going to come down the pipeline. But for us, we're really focused on making sure that the next generation of workers does have the training they need. They're exposed to clean energy, and they get excited at an earlier and earlier age, which is some of the feedback we've received from employers to date. Moving on to kind of talk a little bit about the current state of the workforce and the industry in Massachusetts. Roughly about 105,000 jobs in Massachusetts are clean energy jobs, resulting in about over 25,000 systems installed. These jobs pay very well. The median wage is $50,000, and I should say most individuals make $50,000. And from 2015 to 2016, the jobs grew 6%, which outpaces the general employment figures in Massachusetts and nationally, and has shown strong growth since we started recording numbers back in 2010. And also, we are very strong in the energy efficiency realm, where the American Council for an Energy Efficient Economy has ranked us now. This is we're up to 7 years in a row, ranked #1 for energy efficiency policy, and just the work we've been doing. So we're trying to keep the momentum going, and the work we do is really geared towards, making sure that the industry continues to grow. And what we hope to, have a result from this particular solicitation is that students can get exposed to clean energy earlier and earlier to get interested so they can provide them a pathway towards getting into the sector long term. And moving on from that, I'd like to officially bring Tamika into the webinar and introduce her so she can start telling you a little bit more about the RFP itself.
Thanks, Andrew. So I'm going to lead you through the steps that must be included in the RFP. I'm sorry, not the RFP. It's already in the RFP, but what your application or proposal should look like when you are sending it to Mass CEC in December. So just a little bit, speaking with Andrew, of what Andrew said, the goal really of this program is to provide a hands-on learning activity for students that are in kindergarten through 8th grade. We want to be able to expose those students to clean energy concepts, career pathways, higher education pathways, through a one-day, educational event. And when we say one day, it's more usually between 3 and 4 hours that this event takes place. So it's a little bit less than one day, depending on the track that you choose, which we'll talk about a little bit at the end. So it really is to expose these students at an early age to the industry of clean energy. We know it's very vast, and we want to be able to break down the sectors to these students so that, they're not learning about finding out what clean energy is or learning about clean energy when they get to high school. We're trying to expose them as early as possible. So how it works, or what we're going to be looking for, is we're looking for a team from each elementary school or middle school to come up with a program, which is the Clean Energy Activity Day. And what that looks like is that your team should have one main, point of contact, and we're calling that position the program coordinator. That person is located at the applicant's school. That person serves as the main contact, organizes the planning hours, works with Mass CEC. If your application gets accepted, we will, help out as much as we can as you're planning your day. So that person really is the contact for Mass CEC, along with, at minimum, 2 additional team members who can assist you in your day. Now, I just want to talk a little bit about team members. It can be someone from your school. It can be a business. It can be a higher education partner. This person really helps shape your day, helps coordinate schedules. In the past, I know that, we have a mandatory on the RFP that 2 additional team members need to be part of this application. One of the schools last year, I remember meeting with some of their team members, and I believe there was as many as 10 team members that participated as, implementing the day, because they chose to educate over 250 students. So, it took that many people to kind of coordinate the logistics. Again, because of, we understand teachers' restrictions and requirements, program coordinators, team members are allowed to receive a stipend for their time, because some of this work oftentimes has to be done after your school day ends. So part of the funding on this application is that we will allow funds to be used to pay the program coordinator and your additional team members. As I mentioned before, it's not necessarily a one-day, 8-hour, you can formulate a day, but the minimum we're asking is 3 hours to specialize in a Clean Energy Activity Day event. And depending on which track you take, track 1 is up to $8,000, and that is usually held Monday through Friday. And then up to $10,000 is track 2. It provides a hands-on learning, activity, again, at your school. Last year, just for example, we didn't have any schools that went to a business. The businesses came to them. Or it can be at a clean energy business. Oftentimes it might be a little, heavy to do that, because then you have to coordinate the transportation of buses. So it's great if it does happen at your school. And we've just found in the past that a lot of times, instead of lumping in someone that's in kindergarten with 8th grade, depending on, they all have different learning skills because of their age. It's a little easier if you break it down, from kindergarten to 4th grade or 5th grade to 8th grade. That way, you're teaching at their level. And so, again, a requirement is that you have to partner with a clean energy business. And we do have a few businesses that are in the RFP that have said, we would love, for a school to reach out to us and ask us to come to their school and talk about clean energy, talk about the industry that they're in. Last year, I know that Kid Wind from UMass Lowell, they attended 2 schools to talk about wind, and that worked out well. And so this year, we would like to ask schools to consider partnering with a water innovation company. And so I'm just going to talk a little bit about how you have an opportunity to do something new that we have not done before. So I'm going to turn it over to our Director of Water Innovation, Michael Murphy, who's just going to talk about a little bit about the opportunity that could be available to you if you're saying, I have no idea how to coordinate this. We don't have any business contacts. I see that, there's names in there. Where do I start? We actually have someone in the room that can help you with that. And his contact information is, in the last slide, it's an email. And I just want to ask that you strictly contact him about, water innovation, bringing them to your school. He will not be able to answer any of the other questions in the RFP.
Right. That is better suited towards me. My email is back at the end of the presentation as well. So we'll show you what that is.
Right.
So.
But as Andrew said, we'll discuss that a little later. But Michael is going to just talk about some of the opportunities that he can connect you with regarding water innovation.
Thank you, Tamika. It's good to have the opportunity to speak with all of you today. Just a few minutes on why Mass EC has a water innovation program. That'll help kind of shape the context a little bit. We have a water innovation program simply because of the water energy nexus. So it requires a massive amount of water to generate electricity, and on the opposite side, it requires a massive amount of electricity to treat and move water. So we do a range of water projects all related to water treatment in the wastewater sector, a little bit in the drinking water side, and then we've discussed maybe doing some stormwater work. So that's a very quick backdrop. One of the things that we really do every day is to help connect the community of water stakeholders, so schools, universities, entrepreneurs, companies, large and small, and help connect and help coalesce the industry. And so how that relates to you is, if you decide that this is an interesting topic that you would like to take on for your school, what we will do is help you both prepare come up with ideas that are grade appropriate, and then also connect with a company or a professional organization that can help deliver on the program for the day that you choose at your school. So, a range of ideas in sort of a macro sense would be, the water cycle. Let's say you probably teach this to some regard or some level at your school, but really kind of diving in on the water cycle, where water comes from, where it goes, and what happens to it along that journey. Most people, surprisingly, don't have much of an idea on what is happening to their water before it enters their house and what happens to it after it leaves their house. And so there's all kinds of really great activities that we could propose and put together that would help students learn this very valuable lesson. And then one thing that we've seen is that once kids learn it, they really take it home, and they teach their parents, who often don't know as much about this as they might think they do. So what we will commit to do, if you decide that this is a topic that you would like to work on with your students, is help find a partner, help with an idea that we can flesh out and build upon, and then curate and execute the program. And so we have many contacts in the space, and we haven't reached out yet to ask companies and organizations if this is something they would want to do, but I'm not worried in the least that we wouldn't find interested companies. This is something that a lot of people like to do. We like to teach and get into schools and see the kids learn learn about water. So I'll stop right there. Is there anything that I missed, Tamika or Andrew? Would you like me to?
No, I thought it was excellent. Okay. And that's just something for everyone to consider on the call today. Is if that's a good option for a topic for your clean energy activity day. And it doesn't have to be solar, it doesn't have to be storage, wind. It can definitely be water technology, and we found that to be the students typically love that sort of interaction.
And we could also focus on the water energy nexus. We could teach, how you're going to pump water by using solar energy or something like that, and have that as an activity. That would be pretty interesting. So there's a lot of things that we can do. We can just do treatment. We can do the water cycle. So give it some thought. I can be reached at mmurphy@masscec.org, and it sounds like my email address is on the slide at the end, and I'll be happy to answer questions.
Great.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So based on a little bit about what Michael talked about, we're looking for you to bring in 2 clean energy speakers to your day. Again, the business speakers should be able to provide an engaging story of their career, explain their work. As you know, sometimes children have a limited capacity of listening to various speakers. So we really want to make sure, as KidWin did last year, that they are able to engage the students. Some of this we can talk about in the budget involves providing prizes during the speaking engagements, during the activities that are happening. That's part of the funding application as well, that we allow for funds. So it really needs to be something engaging that kids can listen to, and then be able to apply what they've kind of learned from the speakers in the industry and what they're doing, and then have a hands-on activity after.
And one quick point of clarification is that we do state 2 speakers from a clean energy business can come and present. This has come up in the past. They will have to be 2 speakers from 2 different businesses, not the same company, because we want the students to be exposed to a wider variety of speakers of companies than just 2 people from the same company working as a team. So please just keep that in mind as you move forward.
And usually businesses will donate their time because they love to work with different schools. So we're asking if you can find a business that would not mind donating their time, so that the funds really can go into planning your day and making sure that your students have their equipment with them, because it takes away from the overall day if you have to pay a business. But we do understand if you find a business that really is seeking, needs reimbursement if it's travel or gas, depending on what it is. It's not something that you can't do. We would just like for you to get a business that wouldn't mind donating their time. So after the speakers have taken place, the way it was done the first round is that students were doing different activities. For instance, one school concentrated on solar, and so they were building solar frogs. And there is different examples in the RFP of equipment that can be used, that you can purchase. I will say from previous experience, if equipment says that, this is 6th grade level, I would encourage you to go down 2 grades. So if you're looking to do equipment with 6th graders, I probably would look at an equipment that 4th graders could do. It really depends on how much time you are going to designate to the hands-on learning activity. In the past, the schools gave 30 to 45 minutes for some of the schools. The schools probably that had the most success, depending on how hard the equipment is, probably gave about an hour and a half for that equipment to be used. For instance, if it was a solar-powered frog, there's a lot of different pieces that need to be put together. And students, if they don't see it coming together, they can get frustrated. So just think in terms of equipment that you're ordering. It might be good to order 1 to get a sample, and then you try to put it together. Later on, if you are awarded, you try to put it together and just see, how long it takes you, and then you can kind of base that off. So you're really suggesting to Mass DEC equipment that is going to fit your grade. So again, if you're looking for something for 6th graders, you probably want to, look for equipment that would be good for 4th graders.
And I think that's a really critical point that everyone should just pause and think about, because the way it was set up last year is students were working on their projects. Sometimes they would have to take a break from that, go do a different activity, come back to work on the projects, and then it'd take a while to kind of get back up and running. But really, again, to Tamika's point, the most successful projects are the ones where the students were actually able to complete it, kind of a first pass, or at least by the end of the day, we did have a few projects that were more complicated than certainly we were anticipating, and I had problems putting some of these things together. So I can only imagine, how difficult it might have been for some others. But also there will be volunteers able to be there to help students, progress. So again, to Tamika's point, try to put it together yourself. If you can do it, then at least you could help them go through the process of constructing it. But some of those parts are very small.
And just to talk about the equipment, the way that you can purchase the equipment, this is in the RFP, but there's 3 different options. So you have the option to purchase the equipment or the models. Students construct the equipment there at school, and then they take it home. So that's option 1. Option 2 is that the school is purchasing the equipment, the students are constructing it, and students are not allowed to take home the equipment because you are going to, it's going to be stored for future use. So you're bringing it out that day to the students. If it's a 5th grade class, if you're, say, for example, that you're writing an application and you just want to concentrate on your 5th graders for that day, based on capacity, but you would like to be able to use the equipment again for the 6th graders on another day. That would be option 2. So the students are, playing with the equipment, it's packed back up, and it's kept at your school for future use. Or the third is that you're buying equipment for the students. They get to take something home, something tangible, hands-on. They can talk, bring it home to their parents, and also the school is buying equipment to keep some of that equipment located at the school so that you also can use for future use. So there is different equipment options, based on what kind of equipment that you find out there. We don't have, there's nothing that we're recommending to you per se. There is some equipment in the back of your RFP of some, examples of what you could buy or purchase, but depending on what sector you choose, that's really how you're going to decide what is the best hands-on project to work with. So we're not going to dictate to you what you should be purchasing. We just want you to be mindful of the grade that you are requesting, the industry, and what it's going to really take to get that equipment up and running for that day. And, as part of that day, in our standard requirements, we would like, when the students are done, we want every student to leave with a gift bag. And, I'm saying right now that you should be able to come up with a plastic bag. Maybe it has your school logo on it, that you'll be able to, the students will be able to take home with them to share with their parents on information on public higher education that is around them, or community colleges that cater to STEM and science majors. So that could be, an admission brochure, an admission book, information on STEM camps that is in your region. So if you're located in Boston, you're looking for, STEM programs that happen during the summer so that parents are aware that they can send their children to a STEM camp. If you're in the western side of Massachusetts, you're looking for STEM programs that are around your region, as well as any museums or libraries. They have, some of them have exhibits on the different sectors of clean energy. It could be the Museum of Science, as well as we, Mass CEC, will send you information to be included in the bags on some of our programs. And just optional items could be, pens with the names of the company. You can ask the company to bring names, or if they have notebooks, or if they have logos, or if they have prizes. Some companies might have a T-shirt to give away. So just, things that the student can really walk away with. Last year, Mass CEC was able to provide bags and T-shirts to the students. So we're not sure if we're going to do that again this year. So I would just like you to include that in your plan, in your budget, and then if Mass CEC decides to provide the bags and the T-shirts, then you can, allocate that funding elsewhere. But I would like to see that in your budget. Mass CEC will work with you on developing an outreach and public strategy. We like our programs to be showcased, and a lot of times, if you want to invite, your state representatives to this program, or your mayor, or alert, your your press in your area. We welcome that. And we will, when your application is awarded, we will give further details on this. Our communications team will do a webinar with you just to explain what Mass DEC will expect and how our communications piece will be carried out as you are awarded an application. Again, this is all in the RFP. We are looking to fund up to 10 schools this year. Last year we did 6. If you're doing track 1, you can be funded up to $8,000 per application. And if you're doing track 2, which is on a Saturday, which most people kind of don't necessarily want to be doing this on a Saturday, you are awarded a little bit more because we know that you'll have to probably entice the parents and the students to come out, so it takes a little bit more to get students and parents out on a Saturday. In your budget, you are allowed to include lunch and snack expenses. We'd like this to be capped at $1,000 in total, so if you're going to be providing pizza for your students that day, or if your snacks would be, if you're going to be providing candy or I don't know, what's a healthy snack? A healthy snack or something. Carrots.
Apples.
To these students, we would like that to be capped at $1,000. So, because again, we want this really to be something that is really, the costs are going to the day. So just as a reminder, event costs can include planning hours for the program coordinator, stipends for your business speakers or your team members, field trip expenses, if you're saying we're going to go to a business, buses and operational costs, that can be included. We did include something new in the RFP this year where we asked you to come up with a field trip that you could take your students to. That is separate from this $8,000 per application. So you're going to write in your application what your day was going to look like, and then in the RFP you're also going to put in another request separately from this application of if you could take your students on a field trip, where would you take them? So if you are in the Boston area, you would go to the Museum of Science because you want to see their solar exhibit. If you are located, down the Cape, you want to maybe go to Mass Maritime because they have a great, sustainability campus, and they have a wind turbine on their campus. So that's a separate request. What would that look like once you go through your day and you want to give a bonus to your students? And all this information is located in the RFP. And just a simple who is eligible, any Massachusetts elementary, middle schools that are private and public, you are eligible to apply, kindergarten through 8th grade. If I know different school systems, middle school is with the high school, that is okay as long as you are focusing on the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students. There's different setups, but it really is any Massachusetts private and public school. And then just some important dates for you. The proposal is due Friday, December 8th. 4 p.m. There's instructions on what needs to happen. We like 2 electronic copies of your application. One should be in Word, one should be in PDF format. My email address is located in the RFP.
Yeah, and then one quick thing I want to note also is up here is a deadline for written questions. All questions that we do not get a chance to answer in this webinar or that come to you after the webinar concludes, please send them to me no later than Tuesday, October 17th, 4 p.m. I will answer everyone's questions in the email responding to them, but also post all of those questions received from everyone in a general Q&A document that will be posted on our website. After we've, all the questions have been received on October 17th, we will not be able to receive and answer any additional questions to level the playing field for all interested parties. So please keep that in mind. All questions, get us into us by the 17th, and then it'll all be online, posted on the 24th. And then send it directly to me.
And then I just wanted to, before we, I know we have the contact information listed, I just want to call out attachment G in the RFP, and I think this page is important because this was taken from our, the information on attachment G in the RFP is taken from teachers that participated last year with us. And it's just a few comments just for you to look at. It really tells you which equipment was too much. For instance, one teacher said the solar car bill was too much for a half-hour time slot. If another bill is to be, I think it's supposed to be completed. It says complicated. The schedule needs to accommodate a bigger window, which might mean more stations in the rotation. So I just want you to take a look at attachment G as you're writing your application, because I think that the teachers' comments were very insightful. All 6 were that we funded last year were successful programs. In the applications, just lessons learned. Teachers said that they wanted to do the event, February, March. I think that, waiting till a later date so you can really plan out your day kind of works best. But again, you know better what works for your school, depending on if the school, has testing on certain days. I think if you're able to suggest, in your application, you're going to suggest a date to us. If you're able to push those dates out, until April, May, or June, I think it really works best, because then you have a lot of planning time from the time that Mass CEC calls you to award your application, which is early January. It gives you, 3 solid months to really plan your day, to get your speakers, to get your equipment. So that's just, a little tip that I just wanted to give that out to you. Once, if you are awarded, you are allowed to change your date, but we just want to try to get as many dates solidified as possible. So you have until June 30th. You have until the end of your school year, whatever day it is, depending on snow days have not come in yet. And you probably should plan for a snow day, actually, because snow days do happen in Massachusetts. So just keep that in mind, that if, when you are suggesting to us a date, list a backup date, because snow days do happen in your town and city, and you want to make sure that you're prepared for that. So if you have any questions, I'm going to open up for you to write any questions. We look forward to your applications and your questions. You can ask questions right now if you're on this webinar. If not, we look forward to seeing your questions through email. I look forward to seeing your partnership with our water innovation industry. And so with that, thank you for participating.
Great, and so thanks everybody. So now we're going to enter in the Q&A section of the webinar. We have some good questions that came in so far, and I'm going to just go through them, the order we received. Please write in the questions box on your screen if you'd like us to get to your question, and we'll just start right now. So first question we have is profiling one type of clean energy during the activity day preferred? And the answer is no. No specific clean energy technology is preferred as compared to any other one. But you're free to highlight more than one if you wish. You could do wind and solar, storage and water innovation. So feel free to do more than one. It's not a problem, but you're not limited to any one particular technology. And then second question we have is, will Mass CEC be available to help consult on how to successfully hold the event? Yes, as Tamika said earlier in the webinar, we are available to work with you. When we award applicants, we're going to be discussing with you an outreach strategy on participation, and we'll be taking it from there. So that is something we'll be working closely with you, and we'll be a resource to answer questions you have, and then relay it to previous sessions that have already occurred. So next question we have is there a maximum student number we can include for the event? Tamika, any maximum number we can include?
No, there's no maximum number.
So yeah, no maximum number. You can have as many students participate as you wish, and that way, as long as they're all getting a good chance at the day and they're learning over the course of the day, there's no limit at all to how many you can bring.
So I just want to do a question from the questions that is popping up. The slide deck will be available on masscec.com. When we post a webinar, the webinar will be up on the website shortly, and it will also have the slide deck attached to it.
Great. Thanks, Tamika. Yes, so that'll be up on our website. And then looks like we have a question dealing more with the overall industry. It says, do men and women have salary equity in the 105,000 existing jobs? I would recommend everyone take a look at our Clean Energy Industry Report from 2016, which is currently hosted on our website, to have more information on how the jobs breakdown, the state of the industry. Really, that is your best resource for how to learn more about where the current situation is for people currently working in the state. Moving on, so what would be a good example of a prize to give away to students during the event? That's a great question. We saw last year, Tamika, you can correct me if I'm wrong or if anything pops up, but we had smaller gifts kind of be offered to students, threw it out there to see kind of what, nothing overly expensive was fine, but gift cards worked fine. And usually what we did is we had a brief, I guess, kind of not award, but a little question section of the day where the students, we maybe picked 3 or 4 students from the crowd, and then they got to answer a very simple question on clean energy, and we were able to provide them with, I think, a water bottle, a clean energy internship water bottle we had, or other gifts that you think are more appropriate can also be made available to them. Great. And so only a few more questions. Feel free to ask any more that come to mind. This is a great question. Is there a limit to how many schools can apply together? For instance, could 6 elementary schools within the same district apply together? I think that's a great question. We want as many schools participating as possible, but if you do have multiple schools participating, each one will need to submit their own independent application to participate. We view every application independently, and we weigh it against the criteria we've established that's also in the RFP, but we would need to see each individual application come in for each individual school, which I anticipate would also have different dates and different participants. So good question. And the last question we have right now is, could the event be set up so 300 students visit the event for 1 hour each, rather than 100 students for the full 3 hours? So interesting. So having basically more students but attend only part of the day versus fewer students attend all the day. And our strong preference, again, Tamika, correct me if I'm wrong, is that we would want to have a smaller number of students participate in the full day versus a larger number of students participate in only part of the day. We want them to be exposed to the speakers, the hands-on activities, the other learning activities during the day, and we wouldn't feel comfortable being able to kind of carve it up and having students pick and choose which section of the day they go to. So please keep that in mind. Your students that are participating would be needing to participate in the full day, depending on the final number you aim for. Great. So that's all the questions we have. Any last-minute questions, please send them in right now. Otherwise, on behalf of Tamika and Michael and the rest of the workforce team here at MassCC, I want to thank everybody for their time today, for taking the time out of their day to learn more about the solicitation. Again, please email all questions that come to you after the webinar to me. My email is right here by I think it's incorrect on the top of the screen. The deadline should be October 17th. We'll post it October 24th, but you know what? As long as it comes in before the 24th, we'll be able to take care of you. So don't worry too much about the 17th. We'll take care of you. So I would use October 24th, which is posted here in the presentation, as effectively the date you should keep in mind for the questions. And lastly, December 8th, 4 p.m. is the date to keep in your mind for when the applications will be due to us. And any questions, just let us know. But again, thanks, and take care, everybody.